Today we're playing in a vintage challenge. Got paired against Ekoba Ronin. Round 1. Who's a powerful vintage magician, so not an easy round to begin with, but what are we even playing? This is the first time I'm touching vintage since Dragon Storm came out, and the set seems to have been pretty relevant, given that it contained Clarion Conqueror, essentially a Stone Silence or a Null Rod on a free white flying body, which is an incredible effect in general. In vintage, half the deck sideboard Null Rod, and it can be just a very big deal. It's gonna shut down your opponent's, half of your opponent's cards sometimes, or a third of their cards, or just all of their mana, so they are unable to really play. So a really solid effect, and a pretty big deal for the deck, which made Mono White Initiative shut up towards being the most played deck lately, I think. If we are going to believe the Goldfish pages, Mono White Initiative is the top deck, then Dredge, then Lurus. Yeah, would be surprised if Dredge's strength would be so resistant and would take so long. So Vantage is unplayable? Well, we are going to be playing, so by definition it is going to be playable. One thing my Mono White Initiative deck does that is different than a stock list is that I am omitting Chromeless. I never liked that card too much to begin with, and with the coming of Clarion Conqueror, that's a pretty big anti-synergy. You spend 2 cards on your Chrome Mox, you play out your Conqueror, then your mana is dead and you can't play your other stuff. Or you might struggle to have enough white mana, so instead I'm playing a variant with more planes and Simian Spirit Guides. Also I'm playing a Soul Ring, because with more planes I think it combines not so badly. Of course, like I still have 9 artifacts that get shut down by Clarion Conqueror, but that is fewer than the typical 12. So we have a Ancient Tomb and a Simian Spirit Guide, which doesn't quite make sense and wasn't what we wanted to get. In fact, I do regret not having a Mox available in my hand over this Simian Spirit Guide. Here we can keep though. We can put back Witch Enchanter, Plains, or the Simian Spirit Guide. Simian Spirit Guide lets me cast a second free drop on turn 2. Let's put back Plains. Lotus into Spirit Guide, that is a way to play this hand, yeah. Underground Z into Ponder. Wait, Ponder? But I barely knew her. Anointed Peacekeeper. Pretty funny with Vexing Bauble. But Underground C, Ponder could very well be Doomsday. Naming Dark Ritual is pretty funny against Doomsday. With Anointed Peacekeeper, you can also name Doomsday. Naming Ritual is probably typically... Whoop! Infinite Lotuses. It's probably actually better. Doomsday, Time Walk, Days, Street Wraith. Well, that's a tricky one. Keep in mind that I control a Vexing Bauble, which means that Doomsday cannot get Lotus or Moxen. I could name the Time Walk, that means that my opponent doesn't cast it. I hit them, then they cast a Doomsday and pass. I hit them. So opponent goes to 17, then they go to 8, then they go to 5, and it's not so bad. Was dazing your Lotus here bad? It set my opponent back pretty significantly, so that's why they didn't do it. Also, I would pay with the Simian Spirit Guide, which would actually be crazy for me, so I wish my opponent dazed my Lotus. If I just name Doomsday, opponent is a Dark Ritual away. The Ponder didn't shuffle. I think I will name Doomsday. It's a bit tricky and my card is not doing all that much. If my opponent ever finds a Dark Ritual. Like, maybe it makes sense to name Oracle. But I don't really think so. You can make a pile with land number 4. Hello, Da Vinci MTGO. Opponent unsurprisingly time walks. Keep in mind that we can crack the Vexing Bauble any minute. My Simian Spirit Guide. Can we update song list between rounds? What does that mean, Da Vinci? So opponent is doomsdaying, which is an issue. Which basically means I think I need to draw Archon. Oh, Song of Creation, of course. I thought you meant the song list of the song requests. I was like, what the heck does that even mean? Junji Ito Doomsdays? What if Doomsday Confluence was legal? Create a free black Dalek. Bros, Doomsday is OP, you can never beat it in Vintage. Except when you are the opponent, then you can beat it every time. No i dupa, co? Muszę cycle this and die. Well, wouldn't have helped through days, so... You got me, bro. We have tech against Doomsday in the sideboard. Well, Deafening Silence maybe is not the best. But Angel's Grace, that's gonna show them. Well, I have to keep a plow, so hopefully my opponent deploys some creatures, but... Which sometimes happens, they do occasionally play sideboard monsters. I'm not entirely sure why or when or why they bring them in, but it does happen. Deafening Silence does blank every Dark Ritual, I guess, so that's kind of nice. I guess turn 3 Doomsday is still kind of nutty in Modern. I kind of doubt it, actually. You play a turn 3 Doomsday with Swamp, and then your opponent hits you with Ragavan and takes your top card of the pile, and you think, shit. Also, you actually need to have 3 Watery Graves in play. Well, or 2 Watery Graves in play, because Oracle is blue. So I'm not so sure that a Doomsday deck would be so good. But maybe I'm wrong. And Sunblack saved Modern by rejecting the card. I'm on a play, so... Chalice of the Void into nothing on turn 1 and turn to Seasoned Dungeoneer. This is a bit weak against Doomsday because we are not putting out pressure on turn 1. And Chalice alone is not so backbreaking against Doomsday. This looks better. It would definitely check Eldrazi decks. Sure. Do I put back Simian Spirit Guide or Clarion Conqueror? If I get my Mana Crypt forced, then I really need the Simian Spirit Guide. What if they don't force? Then I have Seasoned Dungeoneer into Anointed Peacekeeper. Do Eldrazi decks need even more checking? I wonder myself as well. Eldrazi deck... Modern is funny. Every deck with 4 copies of Consigned to Memory against a deck that's like kinda as powerful but also giga mid actually. One is at 16 already, so this can attack them for 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to 10, then we have trap available, or I go to Lost Well to find an Archon to play 2 bangers on turn 2. Simian Spirit Guide so far has been chilling. Hasn't been exiled yet. We can also die on turn 1, which is not very likely to happen. Needs basically Black Lotus Doomsday, keep a mana up for a cantrip. Or this. Interestingly, villain has Island Mox Sapphire, which means that they can't produce black easily next turn without involving a dank ritual. Alright, alright. Well, I wish I kept my Clarion Conqueror. Heads or tails? Thank you, Zayad, for the sub and for the gas. So we have 6 mana, so I can play another free drop. I have to consider if I maybe don't want to go to Lost Well. We have to count. Any big upcoming tournaments for you? The Pro Tour happens in June. Alright, so this hits them for 3 or 4. Point goes to 12. If they go to 12, then next turn I have 4 or 5 plus 3. Seems like it is gonna make a difference. Yet playing another monster is gonna add 2 or 3 power, which would mean that I hit them for 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 in the best case, which is 4 plus 5, that's 9, and plus 6, that's 7, and they go to 1, which is basically dead because you can Doomsday at 1 life. That requires me to hit a spell of both Explorers and hit a 3-drop 3 power monster, so a Peacekeeper or a Conqueror. What if I hit a White Plume? Well, provided I don't flip any lands with the Dungeoneer, that's fine. Opponent did not Doomsday, so you can guess they don't have Doomsday because they should have, right? Even if the plan will be to pass, you would Doomsday. On 8 life, you take 3, 4, 5, 6, go to 2, and then you untap and you win. What would you do, chat? Because I have no idea. If I go to the Forge, I kill them next turn. If I go into the Lost Well, I maybe kill them next turn, but likely I don't. I get to take 2 more looks at relevant free drops. Which white Plume is not really, compared to going to the Forge, it's weaker. Seasoned Dungeoneer is not, so I guess it is those cards that are relevant. Maybe Deafening Silence as well. So I think we have 13. Angel's Grace would be good to draw as well. Enchanter also a good hit, sort of. I'm not sure it is. Because I get to only cast one thing if I hit Enchanter, so I don't think I count it as a good hit. Wasteland would be not too bad, but also not too impressive. If they didn't have Doomsday this time, if they draw it, we are dead anyway. Well, not if I find a Clarion Conqueror or Archon of Emeria. So I guess I have 12, 13 hits. 13, 14, maybe Mindbreak Trap. But not really. Just 14 in 53. Which is, let's find out. I'm 60% to hit one of those cards if I... 60% to hit one of the relevant cards. So I'm 40% to miss. And then I might give my I might have given my opponent an extra turn. So it seems like there was no Doomsday now, so opponent would need to top deck and they brainstorm locked themselves. Alright, so I think I should go to the Forge and guarantee the next 10 kill. You can also get lucky and still draw a relevant card, so looking forward towards that. Deafening Silence, so we did hit a relevant card. Well, I think it's relevant. Like, I think it should stop my opponent from winning in a single turn with a Doomsday, but I'm not entirely... Yeah. It has to. On this Fatal Pushing, though. Alright. And their hand is not much. Can this name mana abilities? No. Well, it can name them, but... Sure. My opponent's hand is just shit. Let's name Thassa's Oracle. Does that make sense? It's better against Consultation. Top decks. Not sure it makes all that much sense, but... Now we should go into the trap. I'll flip tails. Okay, of course I did not ask chat and I lose free life. Feel like we only lose to Murktide. Perhaps. Well, if my opponent draws Consultation into Oracle turn after turn, then that could happen. Have I ever goaded a creature? I think so. I think I went from Lost Well to Archives through Arena. Or from Forge to Catacombs. At least once. So next time we draw an extra card. Hopefully I can draw an Archon or something to seal this game. Oh wow, what Regrave. Cast a Guide. It makes no difference clockwise, right, to play it now. I guess I should have played it though. Yeah, I absolutely should have. There's no reason to keep it, so I forgot I can do that. My bad, chat. So now I will be the one on the draw with my sideboard that's woefully underprepared for Doomsday by one card. I also cut 2 Wastelands to fit 2 more planes, as I was cutting Moxen, which Might be viewed as a blasphemous move by some. Well, this is a slow hand. I don't think I can keep that. Oh, you sure are. We all get more old as time progresses. Thank you for the raid. Though, the inevitable march of time is pretty rough when you think about it, so you can also not think about it too hard. Alright, so the funny thing with Angel's Grace is that Doomsday more or less can't beat it, but I will need to draw a lot of mana. Let's keep it for science. I mean, maybe they can beat you by stacking 2 oracles, but I need to know it. When Mulligans, Underground Sea, Black Mana, Dark Ritual, Doomsday. No, yeah. So this was probably one of the better hands to keep, because if I don't die instantly, I probably will have a hard time dying. We should... Well, we're gonna pass with the Angel's Grace and maybe it's gonna be good enough. My opponent doesn't have 2 oracles. But also, why wouldn't you put 2 oracles in a pile like this? You might ask. Well, that's a problem. Ideally, I can also just draw a Black Lotus. Any spicy sub decks? Tonight, Persist Corios. The most cohesive deck. Legendaries for Yorio, non-legendaries for Persist. Together, they build a full deck that makes 100% sense. You know the rules, and so do I. Awesome. Aljice, thank you very much for the sub, and I am glad you had your success. 6 certainly wise to play just a bunch of, try to power 6 out on turn 2 against the frog decks, because they do struggle with an early one quite badly. So I suspect that many turn 2 instances of 6 showed up. So unfortunately, opponent has both oracles in the deck still. So I guess I lose because they didn't build a brainless pile. Have I ever thought about Summoning Trap as a sideboard card for this deck? Summoning Trap. No? For initiative? So the issue is that my opponent just plays the second oracle now and I die. Murktide Regent. Did he not play the second oracle? I guess I win then. Yeah, just to be photo. Yeah, opponent just loses now because now I named the oracle. I think opponent also tried to beat Wasteland. Unless Lotus is the last card. Oh. Wait, did I mess up? Fuck, no. I did mess up. Chat, I was supposed to play the Archon of Emeria. Not the second Archon, Anointed Peacekeeper. Holy shit. Chat, you baited me. Of course, I'm gonna blame chat and not myself, but you baited me so hard. Perfect information was available here. We've seen the hand. And we knew opponent had... You could see the deck, and we could see that the Lotus wasn't there. So of course I was supposed to play the Archon, and then my opponent wouldn't be able to play the second Oracle. Alright, that was... well, a shame, I guess. And seems like a keep. Opponent reveals Lurrus. Am I going to Paprikash in June? No. I am going to a wedding instead. I was invited to a wedding of a magician friend, which overlaps with Paprikash, so I'm skipping that. Island. I play Mox Emerald. I play Mox Ruby. Oh, this one is good enough to get Spell Pierce suddenly. Good play around the Spell Pierce on the second one, funnily, interestingly. So probably should play the planes first. Although it does let me resolve Deafening Silence for better or worse. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have a strip mine, because that would be annoying. They don't. I can name Archon and play an Archon, which should be good enough if I play another one. Tapped Scalding Tarn. I think we should play 2 Dungeoneers in a row if I get forced on the first one. Will I get forced on the second one? Unlikely. Also, Fantaman95, thank you very much for your sub. Opponent just taking full advantage of my... Opponent just clowning my Archon of Emeria. By fetching a Silver land. Pretty impressive stuff. Vons. Is that Frogster? Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Probably should go to the Forge and make a big Seasoned Dungeoneer to just kill them. We go to Forge against the Froge, you could say. So against a Frog Lurrus deck, which is gonna be less combo-like, we could remove that Deafening Silence and play a Solitude, which seems to make sense to me as a change. The perfect cost to put Chalice on would be 2. Well, sort of. They don't have that many 2-drops, just the frogs. But it doesn't hit anything in my deck. Hitting 1 with STP a bit awkward. And by awkward I mean plainly bad. That said, let's mulligan this hand as it is unplayable. And be greeted by a hand with a Simian Spirit Guide Ancient Tomb issue. Which I'll keep. And I'll probably put back an Ancient Tomb. I don't feel like I need the second one necessarily. But looks at my hand and just says, yeah, alright, that's fine. I'll just play Mox Jet then. Play Witch plus Meadow and maybe get hit by a simple Ancestral into Wasteland, which will bury me, but maybe not. Alright. Which monster do I want to play now? Which one loses the most value? Which one requires to be answered? Clarion Conqueror doesn't necessarily require to be answered, so I think I should just play Archon of Emeria. Can pay for a days. Days is not an issue. Push is simply killing my monster, but of course, what can you do? Sometimes your monster gets killed. Black Lotus to give my opponent access to 6 mana. Psychic Frog, alright. Let's play Clarion Conqueror. It needs to be answered now. Otherwise it blocks the Lotus. Alright, that's interesting. He discarded Spell Pierce. Yet they've seen my... Are we dig for timing? We are dig for timing. I thought they want to make the frog bigger than the Conqueror. Perhaps I should have played the Karakas first to respond to... Soul Rand. Destroy target creature if it's white. Alright. Destroy your frog if it's a frog. Misstep, sure. I say sure, but actually it's horrible, and my opponent gets to draw an extra card through their Soul Rand, which puts them in a card advantageous enough spot that I just can't do anything. Simian Spirit Guide is looking pretty bad. Mox probably would have been not so good this game either, to be honest, but maybe it would be better. Well, if we gain the initiative, then I guess we can just take it back and forth. They have a Naya Spellbomb against me, so that seems like a pretty... Seems like they're short on cards. It's not a card you would want in your deck in the matchup, I believe. Discard Delta. Discard Null Rod. Alright, those are pretty wild cards that my opponent is summoning. That said, I die next turn to the frog. Choosing Frogger and then Trap. No, actually they only choose Sacred Enchants. They don't get to skip a step. I get to skip a step because I'm ETBing. Alright, that makes sense. Well, so I still die next turn to the Frogger. Unless I STP to Plowshares. Well, so if my opponent doesn't have a force, which seems 0% to happen, we can win. I think I'm going to the Frogger to grow my creature post-combat. And I'll just plow the frog now and see if my opponent forces, and if they do, I die. They force of negation, which if I move to the upkeep, I can't beat that anyway, so... You got me, bro. Yumba wins. I'm gonna be on the play with all the Chalices and Trinispheres in the deck, so that's gonna be easier. You're playing Winota and Legacy right now because the format is a shit post. Winota. How does the list look like? Did they ban White Plume Adventurer but not Seasoned Dungeoneer in Vintage? In Legacy, that is? I think that was the case, actually. Esgila, thank you very much for 12 months. Kepil, also very nice of you to sub as well. This is a good play on words, as Gila. Initiative to sub, because I'm playing initiative right now. Good one. Hand is not great. Play turn 1 Vexing Bauble. Can't play my Plow, I can't play my white card, so I top deck. I play turn 2 Archon, which resolves. Oh, tough decision. Just setting up the Cavern to Archon just kinda consigns it towards only being able to produce mana for my Archon of Emeria ever. I think we can do better. Insta punish for not keeping your unreliable hand and just getting greeted by the shittest one while your opponent keeps 7. This is the same hand, but worse. Come on. We're back to our 7, but worse. Literally, like, this is the 7 minus Emerald and Vexing Bauble, so yeah. Do I want to discard 2 cards from my hand to begin with? Yeah, I do. Well, this has low odds of victory, I think. And plays a Mox Jet. Play Archon, get its soul rendered, die. Float black just to be sure. I think it was close, but you made the right call. Yeah, I think the call was alright. I'm just tilted by getting exactly the same cards, but also 2 fewer of them, which makes it harder to win. An opponent also cast Ancestral, so pretty good. The Chromeless would have been good this game. Well, I don't have any cards, so that I guess, yeah, I had the Simian Spirit Guide, so Chromeless would have been better this game, yeah. Chromox continues to, or rather, Simian Spirit Guide continues to not really deliver on what I wanted out of the card. Psychic Frog, alright. No dobra, wygrałeś, ziomeczku. We're not giving up just yet. We lost to getting unlucky and having our deck be a slightly worse version of the stock variant, and we lost round 1 to a pretty big misplay. So overall, adjusted for all of those events, I think I'm basically a 2-0. So we're gonna keep on playing. Simian Spirit Guide once again irrelevant. I play Black Lotus. I play Mox Ruby. I play Plines. I play Deafening Silence. I play White Plume Adventurer. Ruby, 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 Ruby. Ooh. Indeed, Mox Ruby and Simian Spirit Guide. Well, I might just deploy Simian Spirit Guide next turn. Ancient Tomb. Oh no. Maupichon might get exiled to my Witch Enchanter instead, or maybe not, because I can't kill the Patchwork Automaton, it has Ward. Black Lotus, we can kill the Black Lotus with Witch Enchanter, which is actually kinda insane here. Gonna go to Forge to make my creature really big, and just as big as Billy Harrington was. I'll hit my opponent for 5, it even has Vigilance. And Simian Spirit Guide being giga useful here, letting me kill the Black Lotus with Witch Enchanter. Oh no, my White Plume adventure has been phased out. Nettle Cyst. So if they attack, they can grab a basic, but then I attack them back and take my initiative back. So I think I don't have an issue with that, because they don't really play basic. I have to say I find the pseudo vigilance on an initiative creature really unfair. I agree. It is really unfair and just kind of not okay. Trap. Go to 1 life. And I'll name Warlock. Do I have any Warlocks in play? Don't. Oh, this is a Warlock. White Warlock? It's crazy what they make with magics nowadays. I'll cut Deafening Silence on the draw, Chalice on the draw, I'll play Solitude and Mindbreak Trap on the draw. Vexing Bauble pretty bad on the draw as well, but Trinisphere pretty bad on the draw as well. I mean, I can just play. Oh, this is Flashraker Shops probably. So, I don't know, I could play Archon of Absolution instead, but that sounds even worse. Then Initiate Witch. Really mod. That's such a funny emote. Is Solitude restricted in Vintage? It is not restricted in Vintage, I only fit 1 into my deck. It is perfectly fine to play 4. So my hand goes turn 1 Trinisphere, turn 2 Clarion Conqueror, after my opponent has spewed all of their mana into play. How good is that? It is good enough. I'll keep out of curiosity. Like, I can't win on a draw anyway, so what am I supposed to mulligan to, like, Mindbreak Trap? And Mindbreak Trap what, right? Let's go to 18, and then to 16, and then to 14, then to 12 with my Ancient Tomb. As my opponent has a Glaring Flashraker, which means that in no time they will be double spelling anyways. Yeah, perdu. This is just death. Sensei's diving top, so I might... Well, I'm not actually that dead because... But I'm kinda dead because they can just replay top. I need to draw Plows to kill the Flashraker. They can play 1 spell per 10, which deals 4 damage to me. Well, Glaring Flashraker and Patchwork Automaton in the same deck is somewhat funny. In a way, but is it really? Both trigger of colorless spells. Clarion stop and spawns. Perhaps that was a better play. Well, it doesn't stop them from casting a spell, which seems like it's just good enough with the Talon Gaze of Madara. Let's play Chalice on the play for sure. Mindbreak is not really all that great. I will cut it on the play. Trinisphere is not really all that great either, but on the play I should be able to... If I draw a playable hand, I'll be fine. Amazing game so far. Yeah, that is how Vintage is. You play some amazing games. And some crazy games. Hello, Xerkuva4. If you play non-blue, yeah. True, true. Blue has no only interesting games in Vintage. How do I feel? I feel good now. If I have Zaraz UM'd, then maybe perhaps we just got Zaraz UM'd from two different people, so who knows what exactly happened. I play turn 1 Stone Silence, turning off my 2 Moxen. Oh no, they have Mishra's Wang Shop. Into Stone Cold Serpent. And I draw an Artifact Mana Source. Should I attack? I don't think so. I think the Clarion Conqueror makes it hard for my opponent to win. Although I would be able to cast a Dungeoneer if they trade, but like I would rather the game look like this. If I play my artifacts, actually we kill my Conqueror for some reason. Somehow. Nice keep, brother. Oh no, Argentum Massacre has been discarded. Ah, no Cavern on Simian. Ape. Zerg got 65th, so no money for subbing for him. There should be a system where there is a pass down for... Like there is a pass down for RC qualifications and PT qualifications at the RC. Why isn't there a pass down for if you are already rich and you win a monetary prize? It should just go down to a person who's more in need, who's poorer. Skip. Good chosen one. And sucks. Brain Freeze that did not play in Pauper. I remember the name now. It's Temporal Fissure. That's the card. This card used to be played a lot in Pauper. You just bounce your opponent's everything. Pauper, Temporal, Fissure, Storm decks. It's been banned for years though. 12 years ago, we Google Pauper, Temporal, Fissure, Storm decks. A Reddit thread from 12 years ago says Temporal Fissure, the problem with Pauper. Cloud of Fairies, I just went with Cloud of Fairies, Peregrine Drake. High Tide. Wait, Treasure Cruise was 12 years ago? Wow. No, 2018. Well. No High Tide and Storm? No, it literally had High Tide. It just doesn't have Storm. That said, we drew Lotus, which is the best possible. So I have 6 mana, I can play 2 monsters this turn. Time to self-brick with the dragon. Oh no, I can play another dragon. If I just set the Cavern to dragon, I will play a total of 3 free freeze this game. I don't see how I can lose then. Opponent has lost connection to the game. The only response to a turn 1 Black Lotus on the stack. Okay. Should play the Conqueror since I have 2 Conquerors. I don't care if the first one gets countered. Can name Wasteland or Fatal Push. What if my opponent wastes my land with a Fatal Push that costs 3 mana in hand? That seems like not an issue. So it just has to be push. I'll keep the Chalice because I may be well played on one. Oh, nice. I can lose to Time Twister. That would be kind of wonky. I could also Bowmeister down my Anointed Peacekeeper this turn. Chalice X equals 3. We're pretty far away from that. Time Walk. Nile Spellbomb, alright. Isn't it pretty odd that Nile Spellbomb is in my opponent's main deck? Or does it make sense? I guess there is Dredge and there is Mirror Matches, but seems actively pretty bad against Initiative. Demonic Tutor, huh? Well, I guess it is not a given that they have Time Twister in their deck, but if they do, then I guess I'll just die. Alright, seems like they don't play Time Twister. I'm not sure how many people do. It's not that great of a card. Necessarily. Sure. That's a fine keep. You can turn one. Probably not Conqueror. Don't want to shut myself down too hard, but alright, leading on a Lotus is certainly not bad for the opponent. Let's play the Mana Crypt. Well, my opponent countered that. They are Undersea Sewering. Would be a shame to get dazed. Ay, ay, ay. That is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. Wasteland, okay. Is no good. No good at all. No good whatsoever. I guess it's better to get it dazed than to take 3 damage from my Witch Enchanter and then just keep taking damage from my Mana Crypt as nothing happens on the board. In a way, but frankly, I just cycle. Chalice is looking pretty bad. I'm not sure if Chalice is actually what I want to do in a Clarion Conqueror deck. I'll play with X2. I have no 2-drops and my opponent does have some. Insta Spell Pierce. That's fine. Well, that's fine. Could use a Chrome Mox. Opponent can play Lotus now. So I'm just successfully color screwed. Well, we drew Mox Pearl. I plow your Lurito. And we are gaming. Could kill a land of yours. I don't think it really matters. Can save it for a Saga or just save it as a mana source. Probably might be more useful that way. Painless mana source. gonna keep some peace. Wow. Alright. Well, doesn't matter. Will you consign my Lotus? Probably just has a modern hand against my vintage deck and I can't handle that. So Snapcaster push. This is one of the better draws. Can take the initiative and that's gonna beat the removal. Flow the Snapcaster if my opponent summons it. Maybe they will snap into consign, hit my Dungeoneer. That is a way for them to sidestep that. But yeah, if we can source the Snapcaster, if they actually give me planes, so they have to choose. Oh, another consign. Well, that's fine still. Still like 2 for 1, I guess. Archon of Emeria, blank Snapcaster as well. So first let's move to combat and let's see if my opponent lets me explore. They do. I guess it targets right. Oh wow, I can explore. Lotus Petal into my graveyard it goes then. So I kinda don't want to play more monsters. Although I can play Archon, right? If I play Archon, then my opponent cannot crack. Well, they can. Well, but they can snap dig through time, so I have to play monster. Because they're not just sitting on nothing, they have push, snap, dig through time. Another long goodbye, so they still have 2 pushes. The dragons seem pretty no good, for sure. Well, they will prompt my opponent to crack their Lotus, maybe. So they have push revolt. So that's perhaps useful. Now reflashing back dig through time now makes perfect sense. Which puts my opponent at 4 spells, 1 of them push and 2 of them good. One of them unknown. This is a tough position. Alright, Saga, so at least we saved the Wasteland for that. I want Human. No mana screw myself. They could also just not kill a dragon, but I am assuming they will. So they're left with 2 cards in hand. Frog. Alright, so they have Frog and they have Push. It's not too bad. If I plow the Frog now, I'm in a great spot if I join an initiative creature. My opponent doesn't join anything sick. Well, that's pretty sick. We're back to vintage. Instantly. You might have another Bowmeister. Seems to be the case. They still have a push. Alright, you got me, bro. So I guess Chalice on 1 seems rather good against their deck, except that it stops my flows. Do I want Archon of Absolution against their deck? Just to have more threats? I think that's a ridiculous question to ask even, so I guess I will Stop myself right there, but maybe it is better than Trinisphere and Chalice, frankly. Dodge is long goodbye. Well, Trinisphere on the play has to be alright, though. I think Plow is a frog deck, yeah, right. And Chalice you can put on 1 or 2 and it's alright. Alright, Black Lotus. Keep. We are going to be Force of Will checking. Or I guess Force of Negation checking as well with the Lotus, but... check this out. I resolve Seasoned Dungeoneer. Seasoned with what? Salt, pepper, garam masala, onion, paprika. No idea. Well, opponent also has a pretty decent start, but I think mine is better, honestly. Gonna go to the Forge to hit them hard. And I draw the best card in my deck. Let's attack first or play something. Ooh, well, that's also good. Killing their land is also good, but seems worse. Ancient Tomb into Dungeoneer doesn't really make a difference. It's probably just as good to have an Anointed Peacekeeper and it's just better. I think we should play the monster that's disruptive. Demonic Tutor. Sure, I'll take Fail Push. Well, name, not take. They're demonically tutoring for a Black Lotus, which casts. Well, I'm waiting. Fatal Push on my Anointed Peacekeeper into another one. Wow, they drew a second push. That's crazy. They have Wasteland, Bowmaster, Sewers, Lorien. We go into the trap. Deal 5 damage. And we play another Seasoned Dungeoneer. Opponent concedes the game. Which makes sense. Once again I draw Black Lotus in my opening hand, but once again I'm on the draw, which is a double-edged sword. Okay, Mox Ancestral, solid start. Okay. Sapphire, Lotus, Opal. Okay. Soul Ring, okay. Land, okay. How high is Song of Creation on my list of favorite MTG cards? It is in the top 5 or 10, certainly. Just off the top of my head. It's kind of like a meme, a little bit at least. Given that I just thought it was giga powerful at first, but then it was actually weaker than I thought it will be. Have I seen the Weave version? I do have 4 Hatsune Miku Song of Creations in my binder, yes. 4th Orlingas, X-Free, no nieźle dopierdolił ziomuś tutaj. 4th Orlingas, can we beat that? Let's say not. That feel when you're not playing a Force of Will deck? Yeah. But if I was on the play, it would be fine, right? So, I don't mind. Let's cut 2 plows. I don't know if they have any targets. And let's begin game 2. Well, we know they have 4 Lingas as a target. So we can target at least something with a plow. Yeah, opponent doesn't know what they're playing against, unless they have twitch.tv available in their browser, then they would know. And all of that rules would be for nothing. Can we do better? Probably. Is this better? Yes. Sort of. Let's put back Peacekeeper so we can play a turn to Simian Spirit Guide as a follow-up to my Archon of Emeria. Sounds like a plan. I don't know if it's a good plan, but it will speed up the clock significantly. It would double the clock in fact, not quite because Archon would already be in play for a turn, so it hits my opponent down to 18, right? And then I guess from that point on it doubles the clock, fair. Oops. Thank you, Magic Online, for the undo option. Let's go, Simian Spirit Guide. Well, let's perform the dance again. And summon a second Simian Spirit Guide. Holy shit, remember the Tybalt's Trickery deck where you could exile a Simian Spirit Guide sometimes? But alternatively you would hit an Emrakul or a Brilliant Ultimatum into Emrakul? Well, Saga could stop my... Oh yeah. Saga will stop my everything. Well, Saga will not stop shit. Remember Ad Nauseam Mirrors back in the day? I'd never played one, but I've heard stories. You had to play out your Simian Spirit Guides because otherwise everybody held up an Angel's Grace and you could not win against one. So you had to deploy the monkeys. And it came down to monkey beatdowns. Crazy. Crazy much. Could also hit a second Tibat Circuitry for the extra sweat. Was it a sweat or was it just plainly not working then? I think it just fizzled. 3 to lifelink, don't worry, we have Karakas. Oh kurwa. Opponent indeed has more powerful cards than I do. If it was possible to ever draw well with Mono White Initiative, the deck would be much nicer to play, but honestly, it's just frankly impossible. Florent, Prani09, thank you very much guys for the subs. Opponent demolishing me with random cards. Random vintage playables. Fair. I concede. So we are 2-3. Could be 3-2. with better play. But of course, if you only work with a limited amount of time and your main goal is to have a perfect RCQ deck in 2 weeks, then it's a bit rough. I can see the 2-4 result in my future. Let's keep. Feel like Ancient Tomb scams you fairly often. Well, that's partially because I don't play Chromox. That's kind of the reason to play Chromox. For Ancient Tomb plus Chromox combo. But it is certainly an issue. It is possible that my deck should just not play Ancient Tomb. It is possible that it would be better with 4 planes. Not really all that likely, but possible. No nie! Doorkeeper's Rule! Wow! This one wasn't on my radar. Okay. I guess that is a Lotus compatible card, a 12-12. You should just play Mox and Cat Dragon, I think. No, the Dragon is insane. That's the only reason why I even looked at this deck. Again, this is the stock variant that just everybody plays. For what it's worth, chat, if you are into that. If you're interested. It's 4 Chromox, 21 lands. It has the full 4 Wasteland strips. 5 even Wasteland strips. And Chancellor of the Annex. The changes I made to the mana base did make the deck a bit worse. Pretty evidently. But I am annoyed at the Conqueror plus Chromox specifically a little bit. Null Rod shops, that used to be the shit. Let's bring, well, Solitude over the Deafening Silence, which absolutely is not a main deck card in the format of Magic the Gathering Vintage. Yeah, Solitude against Doorkeeper Thrall is good. That said, Initiative is always a very frustrating deck to play. Because getting a good draw is just so unlikely. You get a good draw like 10% of the time. Good draw being like being able to smoothly play 3 creatures in a row, including 1 on turn 1. When you have a draw like this, you probably have a awesome win rate. But again, it's pretty rare. That is a fair way to put it, Ria, so. That said, Tinker is not really a played card nowadays, given that every blue deck is on Lurus, for too good to be Lurus to play Tinker. I will keep, but hands like these make you wonder about Mana Crypt. Or rather Ancient Tomb. Now, what would be great in Initiative would be 2 mana cards. I think if you had 2 mana cards, you could cut Ancient Tomb entirely. Unfortunately, the 2 mana cards you could play, plausibly, are pretty weak. They are 1 toughness Thalia. And perhaps... Thalia and perhaps Spirit of the Labyrinth. Alright, opponent, you got me. But did you plan around second Ancient Tomb? They did. Tank, do the obvious play. Now they are mana crypting. Oh no. Phyrexian Dreadnought. That was fun. I think what will be truly backbreaking is 2-drops. Yeah, so now we have to wait for a playable 2-drop.